This is a fantasy booking I am making of my own free will. One of my patrons, Eric Storm, has nothing to do with this booking, did not commission it, and if he did, which he didn't, I still think it's a good idea, and I'm really grateful he commissioned it, which he didn't. Please, I have hostages. I've got kids! Hello, I'm Adam Blompier's more agreeable twin brother, your one-man brand at Blomco Incorporated, and welcome to Adam Blompier's more agreeable twin brother fantasy books, where I take a look at missed booking opportunities and challenge wrestling companies to do them better, because I'm a smartass. I know a lot of people might be expecting me to use this video as a platform to go off on Jinder Mahal and his quantifiably shit world title run, but I won't. I've done a video all about the big Jin over on Parts Unknown. I think it's good. Go and watch that if you're hankering for a hindering. I'd actually like to use this intro to counter one perception about me that some people might still have, and that's my stance on comedy in wrestling. You see, I don't mind jokes. Knock, knock. No, you do actually have to say it out loud. Knock, knock. I need up. You see, I don't mind funny in my wrestling. Wrestling's mostly funny. It's people in their underwear pretending to fucking punch each other. They're doing setups, payoffs, reincorporations, catchphrases, and drag. In that world, a comedy gimmick shouldn't be, and isn't, a waste of talent, but there is still a hierarchy in WWE whereby actually really accomplished wrestlers like Akira Tozawa are made of glass because they're chiefly comedic. After all, being weak in a strong world carries with it a kind of surreal logic gap that seems absurdly funny. Pro wrestling's all about posturing, so watching people be beaten easily can be really funny. But you can forge real audience connection to funny wrestlers and generate real support for miracles to happen. Tozawa's squash against Gunther is a great example. Santino almost winning the Elimination Chamber in 2012, or Damien Mizdow eliminating The Miz from the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or R-Truth, a man I do not hate anymore, winning the tag titles at last year's WrestleMania. Edge and Christian were funny. Kurt Angle was funny. The New Day were funny. When the comedy is good, it can make for an amazing story and actually foster a purer audience reaction, because wrestling is much more of a meme nowadays than it used to be, and people like it when wrestlers are in on the joke that is pro wrestling. Which brings us to 3MB. The three-man band, a comedy stable of Heath Slater, Jinder Mahal, and, preposterously, Drew McIntyre. What happened to that lad? Who formed a trio of doofus rock stars who didn't play instruments, were routinely made fun of by the commentary team, and air guitared their way into countless losses for 2 years before Mahal and McIntyre both got fired. They're sort of exhibit A for people who hate comedy gimmicks, because A, they just repeated the same joke over and over again. B, the joke is this. Oh, I've given myself a headache. C, they represented the failure of other gimmicks like Slater's run in the Nexus, McIntyre's run as the Chosen One, and Mahal's run as, checks notes, the Great Khali's brother-in-law. Like Santino Marella and Damien Sandow and all the other comedy wrestlers who had their jokes written by Vince, I like poo, do you get it because it's poo, McMahon, they would simply come out in a shit costume that was vaguely linked to where they were, call themselves something stupid like the Union Jacks, or the Plymouth Rockers, or the Rhinestone Cowboys, or the Bumsville Poo-Poos. And it seemed like a waste of all of our time because the comedy was shit, because they were a comedy act. When this man was in charge, someone who I honestly believe might have one of the worst senses of humor of all time. But the thing is, and I will actually say this, 3MB were actually part of one of the best comedy matches of all time. Real ones know which one I mean. Fucking WeLC, which on paper should be at the top of all of my top 10 worst of all wrestling lists, because it's not just 3MB versus Los Matadores, fake shit rockers versus fake shit matadors, but it's actually a TLC match between Hornswoggle and El Torito. And I know a lot of this sounds dreadful and exploitative, and as someone who isn't part of the little person community, I can't speak to the second part, but they had loads of miniature high spots. Drew McIntyre killing himself for the business, and a commentary team of little people including Jerry Smaller and Micro Coal. I'm not made of stone. Track it down, watch it again. Fucking mint. Because of WLC and because of Drew McIntyre, there's still a lot of affection for 3MB. Partly out of nostalgia, partly because 2/3 of the comedy job squad have since gone on to somehow be world champions, while their leader Heath Slater joined another group of no hopers called the Social Outcasts, and then even became the least wanted guy in that group, with WWE filming a skit for the 2016 draft about how neither brand fucking wanted him, and they left him alone in the building as all the lights turned off. This poor fucking man. He's got kids. WWE have referenced 3MB's history before. In 2016, on Raw, Jinder and Heath wrestled for a spot on the Raw roster after the draft. Drew and Ziggler faced Heath and Rhino. And in 2020, the bad year, in July, Ziggler brought Slater back to fight Drew while he was WWE champion, being like, oh, you remember him? He's your friend. Mind games. But it's only ever been like one-off, oh yeah, that happened, appearances, and then you move on. But one person still cares about 3MB, or at the very least, wants a fantasy booking about them and sees it as a funny or at the very least expensive joke to play on me, and that's Eric Storm, who has not only commissioned a booking about the Reformation of 3MB, but one that also includes a Heath Slater world title run. Because no one else is trying to do this, and because God died, and because I'm a smartass, I can do it better. So, look, alright? This fucking can be done. Like I forced myself to believe for the 10 years when I tried to make it as a sketch comedian, good comedy isn't beneath anyone. And sure, I was wrong and my parents were right, so thank goodness I landed at the much more respected profession of frivolous hobby YouTuber. But you can do a 3MB storyline that doesn't feel like a waste of Drew McIntyre. You just have to do it carefully. That means taking your time, turning it into a bit of a joke that the audience is included in, and being honest about the characters at play. The reason the Jinder thing didn't work, now look, I'll be quick, is that it was rushed and dishonest. Instead of actually addressing how wrestling accommodates for fluke wins and what would happen if a terrible wrestler lucked into being world champion because, you know, it only takes fucking 3 seconds, they just pretended Jinder was a credible heel, the kind of guy who could go out there and have 15-minute world title matches on pay-per-view and hope that the size of the audience's memory was only 3 MB. Get it? Because like 3 megabytes? See, a byte is a unit of data, meaning a certain amount of information that's stored or remembered. The term was first coined in 1956 by Werner Berthold. That did in fact lead to the establishment of Constantinople, the eastern point of the Roman Empire. Shouting shit on a crisp. Point is, wrestling under Triple H is a fairly serious business, but he's proven that concepts that might have proven laughable at the end of Vince's run, conspiracy theorist Sami Zayn becoming a serious contender to dethrone Roman Reigns, his title run, after being unofficially Samoan for 6 months, can become not just accepted by the audience, but thrive because they're essentially a ridiculous scenario played with a straight face. A mostly straight face. So let's do this. Let's tell the story of reunions, of friendship, of failure, and what it means to be a serious contender in an unserious sport. Drew McIntyre, just by the way, might be the funniest wrestler currently alive, but he's not a comedy wrestler, and that's a gift for a storyline like this. As much as it's a cesspit that has actively made the world worse, his Twitter game is excellent. That CM Punk shirt, about which he told Seth Rollins, "Your small is in the back." He accused Sheamus of having burger after burger after burger. He tweeted, "Bored at work, lol," in the middle of a world title match at WrestleMania. And then when talking about Seth Rollins feuding with 3 different opponents, he did this Simpsons clip on Twitter.
Checkmate. Checkmate. Checkmate.
Dang.
Oh my heart, the man commands memes like ancient Roman general Quintius Fabius Maximum Verrucosus commanded memes. His character arc is also built around failure, frustration, and feeling like he's not achieving his full potential. We can work that into all of this. So the story begins at WrestleMania 41. And even though he should absolutely be beating Damian Priest at the show because the man hasn't picked up a win on pay-per-view since fucking SummerSlam, which is crazy, have Drew lose again. Like he lost a title the year before, like he lost the feud with Punk overall, and at this point he sits on the edge of the stage and he's just gone beyond rage and more into sheer disbelief. Also, in the draft after WrestleMania, I would have Jey Uso take the World Heavyweight title to SmackDown and John Cena bring the WWE Championship to Raw. I want heel champion John Cena on Raw, please. And thank you. On SmackDown, Drew comes out to the ring and he says, "Lads, I think I'm cursed." I don't think I can do an impression of Drew the entire time. "Lads, I think I'm cursed. Ever since I came back to this country in 2017, it's been bad luck after bad luck after bad luck." And that is actually true, because I put a witch's curse on him ever since he left WCPW. And we found out that he was leaving by attending NXT Orlando and seeing him in the audience. And he doesn't know I cursed him, and please don't tell him. He says, "I feel like every good thing I earn for myself and this company becomes tainted by this curse. I return and win the NXT Championship. The next takeover, I lose the title and tear my bicep. I work for years and win the Royal Rumble. I win the main event of WrestleMania, technically twice, in front of nobody. Next WrestleMania, fans return. I lose to Bobby Lashley. Next WrestleMania, I win the World Heavyweight Championship. The first time I hold aloft a world title in front of fans. I'm attacked, blindsided, and lose it immediately. I wait a year to get my revenge on the man who stole that title from me, and that revenge is taken from me. Lads, in 2 months' time, I turn 40 years old, and honestly, the scariest part about that is that I have a dream job, and I can't remember the last time I enjoyed it. I think I'm done." He takes off his boots, puts them in the center of the ring, and leaves. The next week, Drew McIntyre's in the building. He's been asked to attend by Nick Aldis. Drew comes down to the ring, tells Nick Aldis that wrestling isn't fun for him anymore. Nick says, "Look, Drew, we're happy for you to take some time, recuperate, and I hate to be that guy, but you signed a contract with WWE. You are contractually obligated to wrestle for us." Drew says, "Is that why you asked me to come here tonight? To scold me?" Aldis responds, "Well, to be honest, I didn't ask you to come here tonight. He did." And that's when Jinder Mahal's music hits. I'm just so happy to see him all the time. Drew, he says, "I'm not here for a fight." I'm not going to do that accent either. "I'm not here for a fight. I know we had our differences, and at one point you tried to kill me with a sword. But look, last week I heard what you said. I'm not asking you to fight me. What I'm asking, Drew, is if you want to get the band back together." And he shows a video package of 3MB and how much fun they had back then just being lovable idiots. After it ends, Jinder says, "Look, before you say farewell to all of this," and he asks the crowd, "Do you want 3MB to go on one last tour?" He holds out his hand to Drew. And honestly, the first time you bring it up, people are going to say yes. Their lizard brain will go, "I remember that. I was younger then." And it's a big silly thing. People will initially respond, "Yes, please." Drew looks Jinder Mahal in the eyes, grabs his hand, and then headbutts him. And he stands over him saying, "I'm a serious man." I've given myself another headache. Hang on. So we get some heel heat, and then this is how it's going to work. See, when you first properly sit with the idea, after the surprise and the "they want to do what" absurdity wears off, you'll have roughly 40% of people who go, "Sure, why not? I don't care. I'm barely alive." And 60% of people who remember that 3MB were actually shit and say, "Absolutely not. Drew is worth so much more." And to convert those people, who are not wrong, by the way, I would absolutely be one of those people, you have to do two things. Tell a contextual story of very slowly teased progress, and also you have to make it a little bit of a meme. You see, when the Damien Sandow stunt double thing started, it was a bit funny, but no one wanted it to become a WrestleMania storyline. You have to stick with it. Have them win the tag team titles. Tease the dissension. Pour enough actual story into it to complement the silliness. And eventually, you get one of the biggest pops of the year. So Drew says no and continues to be forced to wrestle on SmackDown, but he starts turning up late. He's being unprofessional, walking out of interviews. During a match, he just says, nope, and he just walks out of the ring and leaves the building. He no-shows a match. It's advertised, but Nick Aldis comes out to say that Drew McIntyre isn't here. He's sorry and demands Drew turns up next week on SmackDown or he'll be fired and the company will take him to court. Legal drama. Everyone's favorite type of wrestling development. Drew turns up the next week in a hoodie and sweatpants. Aldis says, look at you. You are throwing away the final years of your career. Drew, honestly, I wanted to fire you, but 2 men begged me not to. We're a 3-man band! Out comes Jinder Mahal, dressed in a leather waistcoat and a turban. He points to the back. And out comes Heath Slater wearing a leather jacket and holding a leather cowboy hat. Heath Slater comes down to the ring and he offers Drew the leather cowboy hat. Drew takes it, places it on the mat, and stamps on it. He goes to speak, but Heath Slater stops him. I know what you're gonna say, man! I can't do any of these fucking voices. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say this is beneath you, right? You're a 3-time world champion. Jinder was a world champion. Jinder Mahal was WWE champion for over 150 days, but he's beneath you, right? Or maybe it's just me. Heath Slater, part of the Nexus, that failed. Part of the Core, that failed. I made the 3-man band with 2 men who'd go on to become my best friends, that failed. I was the 1-man band. I joined the Social Outcasts. That failed. I wasn't even picked for the WWE draft back in 2016. Me and Rhino were the first SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Doesn't matter, I got fired. I tried to join Impact. I had to get a goddamn hashtag working. I finally got to Impact. I got injured. You want to talk about being cursed? You were world champion. Jinder was world champion. I've got kids. And I had my dream job ripped away from me so many times that when I looked in their eyes, all I saw there was failure. But here I stand, still ready to have a little bit of fun in this business with my friends. And that is not beneath me. It is not beneath him. And it is not beneath you. Drew says, no. And he goes to leave. Heath tells him, you can push me away, but next week I will be here. And I'm not going to stop coming back until I see my best friend smile. So that's the game. Like the Bloodline story, you establish little things that you want to see, and then you achieve them one by one. The first one is just getting Drew to smile. They remind him about WLC. They create a music video of them covering Want You Back by Take That. Did America have Take That? I feel like you had Take That. You know, whatever you said, you hit us in the head, you didn't mean it. We just want you back, Drew. Want you back, want you back, want you back, Drew. During one of Drew's matches, Heath and Jinder set up a mini concert on stage, but they never learned how to play instruments, so they sound dreadful. That distracts Drew's opponent. Drew hits the Claymore and wins. His music starts to play, but he says, hey, turn off my music. They were in the middle of something. Heath and Jinder continue to play on the stage terribly, and it makes Drew smile. Next up is him taking the hat, which he initially refuses to do for maybe 1 week, 2 weeks. Heath later runs afoul of Gunther, the most serious man in a business of serious men. Slater is booked in a match against Gunther and keeps trying to act the fool, but gets ruined by the Austrian. He's doing one of his post-match beatdowns on Heath Slater. Jinder Mahal rushes in to try and help Slater, but he gets beaten up too. Out comes Drew McIntyre and runs off Gunther. He bows his head, allows Slater to place the cowboy hat on his head. Jinder holds up a 3, Heath holds up an M, and Drew holds up a B. This leads to Drew versus Gunther at Saturday night's main event, which Drew does lose. But after the match, he has an air guitar session with 3MB and still leaves happy. The 3 men talk and Drew is now fully babyface. He's finally enjoying wrestling again, but Heath seems a little down. They ask him, what's up? He says, well, we wanted to get the band back together for months now. That I don't really know what we do now. What's left? Drew says, what's left? The 3MB prophecy. We get you that world title because now 3MB stands for the three of us in money in the bank. Introduce the idea, have Heath doubt himself. I'm not good enough. You guys have gone on to much bigger things. I'm Heath Slater, for God's sake. You know, Jinder had a world title to a significantly lesser extent than Drew did, but you approach the idea on its own terms. That Heath probably isn't at the level to challenge for and win a world title match, but Money in the Bank is the great equalizer. So at the match, all three members of 3MB are in that match, competing for the briefcase, but all three men have a singular goal. Jinder holds the ladder, Drew helps Slater climb up, gestures for him to take it, and he does. Heath Slater wins Money in the Bank, and the best friends embrace. So you have Heath hold on to it for a little bit, not too long, but have it be the story that he's hesitant to pull the trigger, because to him, this is it. This is his one shot. Deep down, he kind of knows that this is the best chance someone like him could get, and that makes him scared. And he admits that to his friends. Hell, he admits that to Jey Uso, the champion. Jey says, Money in the Bank's like the Royal Rumble, Us. You suddenly have this opportunity, and it seems like all that's left is for you to fail. Hell, Jey Uso was a tag guy for a decade. No one ever thought he'd make it, but suddenly your life can change overnight if you just keep going. Engage with Heath's history honestly, and people will care more. They will throw their support behind him more. SummerSlam goes past, no cash-in. We're in September, still nothing. The briefcase is this huge pressure that Heath is putting on himself to fulfill the prophecy. Drew keeps trying to help him cash in. After one match, Jey is exhausted and 3MB comes down, and Drew is saying, do it. Do it, Heath. This is your time. And even Jey nods at Heath. So he does it. Heath Slater cashes in Money in the Bank, and immediately Jey hits him with a super kick, goes up to the top rope, hits an Uso splash. 1, 2. Heath Slater kicks out. He small packages Jey, and 1, 2, 3. Heath Slater is world heavyweight champion. And he does it by sheer fluke, snatching victory from the jaws of inevitable defeat. I mean, Jey understands. Jey shakes his hand, recognizes the man's 15-year journey to this point, and leaves the band in the ring. Heath air guitars with the championship, the first instrument he properly knows how to play. Then the next week on SmackDown, and it's the championship celebration concert. 3MB have a proper band in the ring, a full choir. Heath's kids are in attendance. They're calling this 3MB's greatest encore. They've actually been practicing for months with actual real life instruments. They finally get ready to play an actual proper song as a band. Heath on vocals, Drew on guitar, Jinder on drums. Heath Slater smiles, he turns to his band and says, "Are you ready?" Drew nods, turns and smashes his guitar over Jinder Mahal's head. Heath stares at him. Drew hits him with the Claymore and then proceeds to smash Heath Slater through drum sets, breaks keyboards on him, bloodies him, leaves both him and Jinder for dead. The ultimate betrayal in front of his kids that he has. Drew explains himself the next week. 3MB was always beneath him. But he realized what he needed to do to break the curse. He needed to finally bury his past. He had tried to do it properly to earn world title shots on his own, but he realized, you know who would be easier to beat? No one would be easier to beat than Heath Slater. He helped his friend achieve his dreams just so he could rip them away from him. And this leads to the 3MB triple threat on pay-per-view at Bad Blood. And even though both men put in a hell of a show against him, Drew McIntyre beats Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal. Drew McIntyre immediately becomes world champion, ending Slater's run at like 3 weeks. Because that's all Heath Slater needs. He doesn't need 170 fucking days of misery like Jinder fucking goddamn... No. Shush. Just, that's all it needs to be. 3 weeks. Give him a run, fulfill the prophecy. That's all. Heath Slater getting the title is like all babyfaces getting a title. It's about the chase, and then you take it away and hand it to a heel. Babyfaces win titles, but heels hold titles. That's just how wrestling works. Give it to Slater for the pop and the stat, rip it away from him, and give it to Drew, and let him hold it until at least WrestleMania 42. That way Heath can retire, knowing that all 3 members of his band were champions some fucking how. Drew can be rehabilitated as a super hot, super evil bastard heel by crushing a man's dreams in front of his children. And Jinder Mahal can go away forever because I won't forgive him for what he did. And that is how I would book the Reformation of 3MB. Thank yous and fuck yous to Eric Storm for commissioning it over on my Patreon, patreon.com, Adam Blompier. If you have kids, then more than anything else, you need to get back to work.